It is Tuesday, the 5th of May, and the war continues, Melissa Tichy. So our number of the day is 0.25 or 25 basis points or a quarter of a percentage point, however you want to look at it. But that is the interest rate hike that we are looking at this month. The Reserve Bank is meeting on the 28th to announce what they will do about interest rates. And it's not looking good, is it?
No, not at all. And I think the general expectation is that there will be at least 125 basis point hike now, and maybe even more later on, depending on how this war plays out. I think we all thought, and I remember in the previous meeting as well, everyone thought it was going to be a very short war, but we're seeing a more protracted one. And as you mentioned yesterday, for example, there's been some very big damage to key infrastructure that won't just be repaired overnight. And this is all just due to this crazy fuel price hike we're seeing.
Yeah, so the Reserve Bank uses interest rates as this very blunt tool, right, to control inflation. Inflation is the problem. We didn't have an inflation problem before the war. We were heading towards that 3% Reserve Bank sort of target for inflation. That's a good rate at which prices are rising. Then it went higher. Standard Bank, Tom Gale spoke to us yesterday saying they're expecting the next inflation number to be 5%. So you can see how we're now veering away from 3%. And I was looking at the Reserve Bank sort of scenarios because I think they were really good at sort of laying it out. And the suggestion was if the war lasted 2 months or longer, then we start looking at interest rate hikes. It didn't want to hike rates, but 2 months or longer. Then they gave these scenarios, right, for Brent crude oil, averaging out in 2026, and a severe number for the year. We're only in the first 4 months, but a severe number was $97. We've been at $114. So we're in the Reserve Bank's severe alarm ringing scenario planning. And I guess we just have to start talking about what interest rate hikes mean for South Africans.
Exactly. And I think with that, we do have to keep in mind we've got that 3% target. We've got that 1% buffer to both sides. But as you said, Tom Gale has said that it could well be 5% inflation now. But I kept on thinking, won't it be yet another shock if we do get that 25 basis point hike? Shouldn't we still maybe just hold off unchanged? I saw Bank of England, the Fed, and I think the European banks as well, all of them left their rates unchanged for now. Should we not also just leave it unchanged?
So I like the way you're thinking. I don't know if it's how the Reserve Bank governor thinks.
And they're quite hawkish as well, so no.
Yeah, and he has been saying, and we've discussed this over time, that if you look at what happened during COVID and the economies that didn't raise their interest rates to counteract inflation, he suggested they had to be more severe later. So he's kind of saying maybe we'll take the pain now because then it moderates inflation. The whole point is that this is inflation not caused by us all spending too much, but just by what we're putting in our tanks. We've announced the petrol prices. KPMG was saying transport costs contribute about 14% to the CPI basket. I don't know if it's worth explaining that, just a general basket of goods that you buy. 14%, but obviously it depends how far you travel, who you are, where you go. But 14% is big, and we're all feeling that ballooning of whatever the portion is in our own little baskets, aren't we?
And the thing is, and also the fear for that there will be food price inflation. Because I just heard a bite from Agri-SA's team where they were saying that, there's also input costs and there's also inflation to these input costs. And with the diesel going up, food prices will inflate. And that also has a knock-on effect on logistics sector. It has a knock-on effect on many of the items in the so-called CPI basket. That's just going to make things look very, 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 very badly for us. And then adding the 25 basis points hike, you've got the numbers there. It's not looking like a pretty picture.
Yeah, so it looks like households will be spending more on debt, spending more on food, spending more on fuel. unless this war ends soon. But that was the hope initially, and everything is moving outwards, and the bets are now on. We heard a few traders being brave, saying a while back there will be one, maybe two. It now seems to be heading towards a consensus that there will be an interest rate hike this month affecting you. I guess we can look quickly what it means if you've got a 1 million rand house. You and I crunched the numbers, 168 rand more.
It doesn't seem like much, but I do think what people also don't realize is it's at 168 rand that you're paying more for your bond, but it's also your petrol price going up. It's also that going up. And if you have other debts, let's say car debt, that interest rate is usually much higher because it's over a short term. Same with credit card debt. That compounds and compounds. We do also have to look at the good side of it. People who have retirement annuities, people who have investments, they're getting a bit back more or more back now, because if there's an interest rate hike, it will help them. But does it really offset the pain that most people will feel?
And I guess the more you spend on property, so 5 million rand house, you'll be paying about 840 or so more. So, and I guess it's cumulative, right? If we're looking at a series of interest rate hikes, FNB is saying that there's been incredible resilience in the property market in South Africa. But now people may think about buying. So, look, we need to have some control, I think, in Cape Town with property prices going crazy and other parts of the country. But yeah, maybe this will impact property prices pretty quickly. We already saw Discovery saying 35% less spend on fuel last month. So immediately people pulled back on the brakes, and then that has economic implications. All right, so 25 basis points. We're just giving you the bad news early. That is the expectation for what is going to happen at the end of the month, while this conflict in the Middle East seems to be moving sideways, definitely not towards peace at the moment.